Hi there, heroes! For today's adventure, Sam M the DemiFemme will be taking you on a journey to the world of Native Land Digital and the United American Indians of New England. So let us prepare to give thanks.
Do you know where you are? Really know where you are? Let me show you what I mean, and get a little personal to do that. This is the city of Boston. It's had a number of other names over the last 400 years. Beantown, the Cradle of Liberty, Titletown, the Hub of the Universe. But the name I want to focus on is the city upon a hill. In 2025, that name embodies a concept that US politicians, especially those of the Republican Party, love to throw around to tout American exceptionalism and the Puritan work mandate. Protestant work ethic. A concept which goes back to a speech made by John Winthrop in 1630, a model of Christian charity. At its core, being a city upon a hill means to be seen by all the world, both in success and failure. The expectation when Winthrop made this speech was that he and his fellow Puritans would set an example for the world to see, modeling their very specific version of Christian extremism. And it's more likely than not, I have ancestors that attended that speech. Yes, I'm one of those people who can brag about tracing their heritage back to the layover in the Dutch city of Leiden. My ancestors decided to stay behind in Leiden a little bit longer and not make the journey on the Mayflower in 1620. But of course, there were already people there when that boat landed on these shores. If you know the name of any of the First Nations from this area, it's most likely going to be the Wampanoag. They are the ones who feature in the mythology that has been built around the first Thanksgiving. But the colony created in the 17th century and the Commonwealth that exists today carry the name of a different nation, one with a name that means at the Great Hill, Massachusetts. I grew up on the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts and Pawtucket nations. I've climbed the hill that gives Massachusetts its name. My childhood was littered with names like Cochituate, Agawam, and Nantucket. They were just names to me, with no reason to question where they came from or what they meant. I attended college on the lands of the Erie, the Kaskaskia, and the Wyandot, and graduate school on the lands of the Karankawa, the Atakapa Ishak, the Sana, the Estokna, also called the Carrizo or the Comecrudo, and the Kawawiltukan. These are names that I know now primarily because of the team at Native Land Digital, the first of the superheroes we're highlighting today. A Canadian nonprofit maintained and continuously updated for accuracy, Native Land Digital is designed to show the relationships that Native and Indigenous peoples all over the world have to the lands they have lived on, cultivated, and honored. Have in the present tense. A large part of America's national narrative hinges on acting like the First Nations are not still around, framing the people of Turtle Island largely as a relic of the past when nothing could be further from the truth. I remember an elementary school field trip to Plymouth Pawtuxet, back when it was still called Plymouth Plantation, sitting inside a Wampanoag wetu, hearing a mother speak about her people in the present tense, breastfeeding her child under a blanket, and I still did not truly understand that natives were very much living and breathing people, still a part of this land. That's how insidious this narrative can be, and that's part of why Native Land Digital was created. While the federal government of the United States recognizes 574 First Nations, that is a very incomplete picture of the number of Native people, nations, and languages that were shaped by this land. Even Native Land Digital isn't complete. The site openly and honestly stresses that it is a living document, shaped by the knowledge that Native and Indigenous communities contribute, and it emphasizes the importance of engaging directly with those communities. As an example, it's possible for me to donate directly to the Massachusetts tribe at Ponkapoag, paying what reparations I can, and I absolutely encourage using the online map to learn about the nations whose land you live on and how you can support them. Native Land Digital itself runs a Patreon it calls the Supporters Circle, and a Discord server that can be accessed through their website for volunteer efforts. But because of what time this video is going up, I want to highlight a second group of superheroes doing similar work in the place I call home, the United American Indians of New England, UAINE. This organization Founded and led by natives, comprised of indigenous people and their allies, and run without any government funding, works year-round to fight the institutional harm caused by settler colonialism and racism, both in New England and on a global level. They advocate for a legislative agenda that includes the liberation of political prisoners, the adoption of Indigenous Peoples Day, abolishing the use of natives as mascots in public schools, and increasing the preservation and sharing of Native culture and history. They maintain a social media presence that includes Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and a channel here on YouTube for their Liberation Speaker series. But their biggest project is the one that has been running for over 50 years. In 1970, Wamsutta James, a member of the Aquinnah Wampanoag Nation, was asked to speak at a banquet commemorating the 350th anniversary of the Pilgrims' arrival in 1620. After supplying the organizers of the banquet with a copy of his speech, allegedly so they could use it for a press release, he was told by the Department of Commerce and Development that he would not be allowed to give the speech at the banquet, due to its allegedly inflammatory nature. The text of his speech is preserved in full on UAINE's website. Rather than compromise on the truth and give a speech that continued centuries of lies, he chose not to attend the banquet. Instead, he, along with hundreds of other natives and their allies, made the journey to Plymouth, participating in a demonstration against the mythology of the Pilgrims by burying the infamous Plymouth Rock twice and boarding the Mayflower, tearing down the Union Jack to replace it with the same flag that had flown over liberated Alcatraz. Every year since, UAINE has been holding a National Day of Mourning on the fourth Thursday of November, to be attended by natives and their allies. Gathering at Coles Hill in Plymouth at noon, the day is used as a memorial for the native victims of genocide, for the theft of their land, and for the systemic erasure of their cultures, with the event also live streaming for those who cannot make the journey in person. The fund for the 2025 Day of Mourning is still up and running on chuffed.org. If you can donate, it's worth doing, but the UAINE has also stressed the importance of mutual aid in local communities and on a global level. Part of being a superhero means being able to grapple with wrongs of the past so that it can be possible to build a better future. It is something you have to make a conscious effort to engage with every day. And it also means knowing that there are times when the best way to help is to step back and be the guy in the chair, or the plucky teen sidekick, or the brassy reporter, because the person who should be the superhero isn't you.
So there you have it. If you'd like to learn more about Native Land Digital or the UAINE, you can check out their websites at native-land.ca or uaine.org. And if you sign up for our Patreon, all proceeds for the month of December 2025 will go directly to Native Land Digital and the United American Indians of New England. Remember, the world can be a scary place, and that's why we need heroes. So until we meet again, let's all be superheroes, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Visit Sam M the DemiFemme at their channel.